Hey, I'm feeling kind of self-conscious because like my hair isn't sitting the way I want it to, and I don't know, the shirt isn't that great looking, and it's late, and the lighting isn't that good, and so what a, what better time to talk about imposter syndrome? So what is imposter syndrome? Imposter syndrome for entrepreneurs is like you're trying to raise capital and you're talking to investors and you just think you're a fake, that there's no way, these projections aren't good, you're not going to make it, you're going to lose all their money, it's going to be a disaster, you don't know what you're doing, all that stuff. Where does this imposter syndrome come from and how can we fix it? So we want to look and see we've got these two parts of our beingness. One is our deep passion, our consciousness, our intuition. That's what drove you to start your business in the first place. You want to do something more than just survive. Survival, you can. There's a lot of ways to get by, and that's fine. I know a lot of very happy people who have a day job. When that's over, they go home and they do their thing, and they don't have a care in the world, and it can be very freeing. But entrepreneurs, we tend to want to take on a lot of responsibility. That's our path. But the challenge, why is it the path, is because the mind is all about survival. So that other part of our being, it's constantly running, saying, if you do this, you'll get in trouble. What if you take the money and you fail? You'll look bad. You'll get in trouble. And it doesn't help that for most of us, our whole upbringing is about compliance with culture, not creating culture. And I know for myself, especially when we started getting investment checks into Vegan Launch itself, and each time I got a check, like when I was bootstrapping it, okay, if I didn't feel like working, it's no slack, right? I didn't have anything at risk. But then when people started asking me if they could invest in the company, and it's like, well, and yes, I needed the money too. And that was like, wow, this is a really big decision because now I'm on the hook. I can't just like flake off and, I don't know, go backpacking for 2 months somewhere and just like blow the thing off, right? It was a it was a real challenge at the depth of my commitment. So now you're raising capital and now you're being challenged at the depth of your commitment. And the mind is saying, look, take it easy, let someone else do this. You're no good. You know, who are you kidding? All that stuff. And why am I saying this? Because every human being has the same thing running, but unless you try to challenge yourself doing something out of the normal, you may not ever really hear that noise going on. So anyway, if you've got imposter syndrome, you know what it's like for you. I'm describing kind of a general framework, how I felt about it. And there are many possible cures. You know, general meditation is good, but if you're in a hurry, this technique will get you there faster. So you've got your pitch deck. And what I want you to do is I want you to go to a mirror, obviously quiet, without distraction. You need a full 20 minutes. And you want to literally stare at yourself right in the eye, in the mirror. And then you want to really pitch yourself to yourself. And this is a very strange thing because you're your worst critic. And this is why we don't like to look in the mirror, because we're very critical. If you spend a little time in front of the mirror, you'll start noticing, oh, you know, this part of my body doesn't look the way it's supposed to, and I got this, you know, pimple somewhere, and you rarely look in the mirror and say, God, I'm just so hot today. You know, I did, of course, but, you know. No, the mind is mostly about finding flaws, finding problems, looking out for danger. The mind is not, It's there for your survival. It's not there to heap praise upon yourself. So when you're looking yourself in the mirror, that's when the worst criticism comes in, and negative feelings may come up. And the secret is you just keep looking in the mirror. A lot of people, when they're talking to other people, they don't know the answer. They get a question and it's hard to field. And look at my eyes now. They look off in the corner, or they look here, because their eyes are thinking, well, maybe the answer's in the back of my head. If I could just roll my eyes backward, I could look in the brain and try to find the answer. And the secret is actually, if you don't break eye contact, even when you're the most embarrassed and the most ashamed, something magical will happen. So you can practice that in the mirror. So you can take your pitch deck, you can look down if you want, and then pitch a page. And spend 20 minutes pitching over and over again to yourself. Talk about your business to yourself from your deck. And ideally do it even without looking down. Just go through, it should just be 10 pages of just a handful of key points, and tell your story looking at yourself in the mirror. And if something comes up, if something negative comes up, what's that really? That's part of you that wants to leave. It doesn't really belong in your body, but it wants a little attention. Like, imagine you were a kid and you skinned your knee. You wouldn't criticize it. Like, if you were the parent and your kid came in with a knee scraped, you would give your kid love. But when it comes to ourselves, we don't give ourselves love. We give ourselves self-criticism in these situations. So that little negative thing, that thing that that feeling of vulnerability, you want to give that a lot of love. You want to say yes to that and make peace with that. And again, you keep looking at yourself in the mirror, straight in your eyes. So 20 minutes later, you'll see that whole feeling that you're not good enough, that you're not the right person to do this, that you're going to fail, all that stuff, you'll see that it's just gotten markedly less, maybe even disappeared altogether. It's one of the most beautiful exercises. And why does it work? Because our consciousness expresses itself, and our mind and all of our fears, they express themselves in little ways. And so you can watch people, how they talk. You're probably watching me. You got your criticisms of me. They're probably valid. I'm not Buddha or anything. I'm just trying to get along like you are, in this world. So we don't give love to that part of ourselves. We don't want to face it. We don't want to love that. So now you're not a whole person, right? Self-love means loving the part of you that you don't think is deserving of love, because that's you. Otherwise, you're a split personality, really. So this exercise handles a lot of things. So all that gets expressed out through your eyes, but when you stay focused, it's like working in reverse. Now you're essentially sending the signal backwards into your mind and your consciousness to access that leadership channel. Because what are these investors looking for? They're looking for you to lead. They want you to lead them. They don't want to be your babysitter. They don't want to nurse you. They don't want to train you, that's for sure. They're just looking for somebody who's going to take care of the planet, and they'll give money, take care of the animals. They've got money, and that's their contribution too. However they organize that, that's their thing. But in this situation, you're there to lead them, and you're going to lead them by providing value, not by admonishing them, not by pleading with them, by bringing the real financial value that you represent in solving your world-changing problem. You're going to speak to them and say, look, yes, we're going to really solve this big issue. And here are the numbers. Here's why it's good for you as an investor. And they want to be led and said, if you like these numbers, then you should invest. And it's really like that's your instruction as a leader. You're saying, okay, here's the deal. Here's why you should invest. If you like that, invest. If you don't like it, you shouldn't invest. right? You want to have that kind of confidence. You don't want to go in there, well, I need so much money. I'm so needy. I'm so pitiful. I'm so this. I'm so that. That's all scarcity. That same old imposter syndrome is coming up. When you feel needy, now you're back in the imposter syndrome. When you clear that out, now you're back to your intuitive nature, your leadership state, and really who you are and who the investor wants you to be. And yeah, you need to back that up with some good numbers and good ideas at whatever stage you're at. Like, just be real. If you can be authentic with those investors instead of trying to cover your imposter syndrome, you're 90% of the way there, maybe 95. So I hope you like this video. Give it a shot. If you try it, whether it works for you or not, post your comments down below. Let me know what happened. All right. Thanks again for listening, and I will talk to you later.